to episode 384 of Good Luck High Five.
That's right. You're listening to a podcast that's for you if you play Magic the Gathering. Whether you're playing it or you're playing it. Or you're playing it or you're not playing it right now, but you play it sometimes. Or you've never played it, but you've thought about it. Or if you've played other games, but not this game. Or you've played this game, but not other games.
Can you imagine
for
only
you
having played Magic and no other games? I think there's got to be zero people in the world that's true of.
There is a person out there. No, okay, like you would have. How did you manage to get through like your whole childhood without playing like one game of Uno?
Right,
Fair
exactly.
Fair enough.
Anyway, I'm one of your hosts, Maria.
I'm another one of your hosts, Megan.
And on today's show, here's the thing.
We are coming to you from Minneapolis, which is the center of a lot of protest and unrest right now. And so we're going to dedicate the first portion of this show from us as two white people to other white people who are listening about how to better be an anti-racist or the importance of being an anti-racist. And so we'll let you know when that part's about to start, because if you are Black, Indigenous, or a person of color, you can fast forward right on through that, and we're still going to give you all some magic content in the second half of the episode, so that there's magic content to listen to.
That's right. We're covering all bases here.
All the bases.
On the show today. Yeah, and before we get into either parts of this episode, we want to thank everybody who is a supporter of the show over on patreon.com/glhfmagic. Thank you so much for being there for us every single month. It means so much to us. And we have a quick note in here that we wanted to tell you about. Starting in July, Patreon is going to start charging sales tax on some pledges. So this will be in relation to your tier and the rewards for that tier potentially. So I don't think this affects scroll level at all because there's no physical reward for that tier. But if you do see a couple of extra cents on your Patreon pledge bill, that's where it's coming from. We don't know exactly how much it'll be just yet, but it should just be a couple of extra cents depending on where you live and where we live and what the rewards are, etc., etc. So just
the reward are.
What the reward are. Just a heads up. If you see that, that's what that is. But thank you, everybody who has been a supporter, who is a supporter, who will be a supporter. Thank you.
Also, it is important to note, just for transparency's sake, you might have seen some news that the building that our office is in was on fire last week. It was on fire.
I mean, like, what a thing to say, but that's what happened.
No part of our office was burned, but it was very heavily flooded. And we don't know when we'll be operating out of an office again. This is important because if you're a patron, we just want to be transparent about the fact of, like, at this point, if you've become one in the past couple of months, like since the pandemic, we've always been like, hey, once we're able to get back into the office, we'll start mailing things out again. Well, now the phrase "when we get back into the office" is a very uncertain one.
Yeah.
And also, while we would usually ask you to be like, "Hey, consider supporting and being a patron," this week, consider supporting all of the many important groups in the Twin Cities that are doing work for the Black community and for lots of immigrant and minority-owned businesses in Minneapolis. We'll put links to those in the show notes. But yes, just so you know, if it affects you being a patron or becoming a patron, we need you to know up front. We don't know when those rewards are going to go out, very truthfully. They will someday. But someday is like a real big question mark right now.
It was like pretty devastating for us, like to see, like not to make it about us, but it was pretty horrific to see it happen. Unfortunately, and we really wanted to be in there to like make better content for you all and just like make all of our stuff more awesome and make more awesome stuff for you. And just so you know, that is still the plan for us. We just have to figure out how to do it moving forward because we did suffer a pretty big setback, to put it mildly.
And so, you know, we'll bring you more info about that as that develops and in the future. But like we said, like right now, that's hardly the most important thing going on. While it is very personal to us, obviously, there's so much more important work going on in the Twin Cities and in the U.S. and honestly in the world right now. So on to that stuff.
We wanted to say thank you to our sponsor, Card Kingdom, as well too. So head over to cardkingdom.com/GLHF for anything you need in your magical life. They're a fantastic sponsor. Not only do you know they help us out, but they're just a great community partner, and they're always doing the right thing. I think that is kind of the message of this episode of Good Luck High Five, and they certainly live that message in their operations day to day over at Card Kingdom. So we're really happy to have them as a sponsor, and if you're looking for a good place to put your magic dollars, we certainly suggest them as we do every episode. But just like FYI, we don't just thank them because they help us out, but because they do the right thing through their business. And when you have a business and a platform, it gives you the opportunity to do good things, and Card Kingdom is one of the companies that does. So vote with your dollars there. Anyway, that's our our thank you section.
Oh boy.
There you go.
All right.
So now on to the tough stuff. Like it's been a time, and it is a time.
It is a time. And like we said, this is from us to other white people. So if that's not you, again, like skip ahead. You don't need to hear this from us. But if you are a white person, like keep listening, buddy. Buckle on up.
Yeah. Megan and I, like we said, we live here in the epicenter of what's been going on in Minneapolis. And my God, what a time to be alive. Like, what a time.
What a time. And so, as I mentioned, I think like in the next couple, the next 15 minutes, maybe, I don't know. Who knows how long, whatever. Time means nothing. We're going to talk about specifically, I think this has been like something that's going around, but it's not simply enough to not be racist. How can you work to actively be anti-racist? And there's, that doesn't mean like being anti-racist, means that maybe you are still racist in some ways, but it's about addressing those things in yourself, in your community, in the people that in the systemic structures that you are part of. So one good place to start is there are a lot of really excellent books. There are many books written specifically about this. One that very recently came out, which is a remix of like an earlier book, is called Stamped: Racism, Anti-Racism, and You. This is like a slightly more like YA version of Stamped from the beginning, but it's written by the original author, Ibram X. Kendi, and then with Jason Reynolds, who is the current National Ambassador for Young People's Literature, and a really excellent author. So that's a really good place to start. How to be an anti-racist, White Fragility, The New Jim Crow, and you can just Google anti-racist reading list. Also, like Google it, check it out from your library. If you have the money, like go and buy it from your local bookstore. I also really highly recommend. So all of those are like nonfiction, books, but also reading one of the biggest books in the last couple of years called The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. If you haven't heard of it, I don't know how. It's literally been on the New York Times bestseller list for like years now, and which is like a YA book about the cops shooting a young black teen and like the impact on the community. And it's also just like, I think that for me in the last couple of weeks, like I've been thinking about that book not just be like, right, we see so much coverage, and I feel like so many of the protests are about specifically like the police killings. And this book goes into like the community afterwards, like as these protests are happening and as they escalate. And I've really I've thought about that book, and I was like, oh, that's the only thing that I've read up until now that told me about like how do these protests affect these communities specifically. So I recommend it. One, it's an excellent book. Two, for that reason.
Yeah. So great reading list from Megan.
Yes.
Excellent. A+ thumbs up. If you've got any, please tweet at us at GLHF Magic and let us know your recommendations of something you've read that's impacted you. But yeah, fantastic list. If podcasts are more of your thing, I've been listening to the 1619 Project, which is just fantastic, from the New York Times.
Won a Pulitzer this year.
Yeah, won a Pulitzer. And it is an excellent historical podcast. I really like nonfiction, and so if you're a fan of like learning more about our country that way, highly recommend 1619. And also, just FYI, in our magic community, we have another podcast. It's called The Color of Magic, and they're releasing a special episode. It's basically like all about magic from the perspective of people of color. And we just want to give them a shout out because they said they're going to be releasing a special episode on their next episode about all of this, and you might want to give it a listen. So there you go. There's a couple of podcasts. Once again, if you know any other great ones that you want to make sure people don't miss, let us know, and we will let our community know too.
Yeah. There's also lots of great stuff to watch. There's 13th and When They See Us, which are both projects by Ava DuVernay and are in her repertoire of, like, again, those are more like documentary style pieces.
You just reminded me, too, of another one that was actually produced out of here in Minneapolis, which is called Slavery by Another Name, which is basically what happens after the Civil War and emancipation. And it's really interesting because you can kind of get a look at kind of the historical roots of what is happening today, like not so different in a lot of ways from what happened immediately after then, after the time back then, too. So, yeah, that's another recommendation I've got.
And I do just want to say, like, we've been, like I said, like, mentioning The Hate U Give, like, we've been talking about a lot of nonfiction stuff, but, like read and watch and share art that are made by Black and Indigenous and people of color creatives, because that is, like, so important. Don't boil it down to, like, oh, I'm only going to take out of, this community, like, things that will help educate me. Like, no, they're all, like, you also need to support the creative work that is coming out of it.
Absolutely.
I mean, like, Get Out is, like, you know, just, like, unequivocally, like, one of the best horror movies that has come out, and it's just like, go watch that.
I thought it was the best movie of that year, kind of by a long shot.
Yeah. Like, we Girls Trip, which came out a couple of years ago, but, like, we still talk about because we, like, died laughing in the theater.
Yeah.
Like, I thought I was gonna throw up because I was laughing so hard at that movie.
Really good.
Oh my
really
God,
good.
I was crying. So yeah, like, get out there, support creative work also. And a really important note, like, don't ask, like, we said, we're here as white people being like, hey, we'll help other white people, like, figure out, like, navigate becoming a better ally. Don't ask Black people to do that work for you. That's your responsibility. Like, ask other people who aren't, like, directly every single day impacted by this stuff to help you.
Can you imagine, like, just having people bombard you on a daily basis with, like, help me be better? You'd just be exhausted. You know what I mean?
Yes,
so, like,
exactly. Like,
there are other ways to do it.
Yes. Again, like, there's things you can watch. There are books you can read. There are people that you can talk to. Like, do it yourself. If you have family, this is really spooky for me, but, like, my friend shared a template email for sending to family that's like, hey, this is what's been happening in Minneapolis. Like, here's organizations to support. And it's like, I'm going to send that to my family. And I have a lot of family that lives in, like, I have family that lives in small towns, and I have family that is historically, like, Texan and Southern. And, like, I don't know how that's going to go over with some of them. And it scares me, honestly. But, like, I've realized, like, I need to do that. I'm going to do it. Like, I have to, because I can't keep running away from that.
And it's like something like that too, which is, you know, in all things considered, you know, we can sit down and write an email instead of, you know, living through decades of of abuse and stuff. And yes, it is hard and it is scary, but just like maybe if it helps you put that kind of lens on it, be like, okay, yeah, you know what? I can sit down and do this bloop, 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 with my fingies and like deal with that emotional labor.
It really helped to have someone else be like, here's an email template. And I was like, thank goodness. It like gives me a little bit of structure to be like, okay, this is what we're saying.
yeah, for sure. And if you are interested in that, do you think like you can like share that template, Megan?
Yeah. If that is something that you're interested in, tweet at me. I am Meg the Wolf, or you can tweet just at GLHF Magic being like, hey, I'm interested, and I'll DM you the link. Just because it's like been shared around by a good friend of mine who's like, it's a friend of a friend who wrote it. So I don't want to like widely just tweet that. But I am happy to share it if it is something that you want to use.
Great. I think this next thing is, pretty obvious. We've been saying it for a long time, but it's so obvious that I think a lot of times it goes under the radar, which is you've got to actually go out and vote.
Yes.
The way that our system is set up is the current way to enact change, and it is slow and it is laborious, but it is the way to do it, within the structure that we currently have. And this also, if you have been considering it, you can make a difference and run yourself, or you can support candidates who are people of color and women and minorities, and be like, hey, I'm going to support their campaigns. I'm going to volunteer. I'm going to give money. There are organizations that are set up specifically to help elect those people, and you can search those out in your communities too. And I just think this is like so important, because you definitely know people. We know people who have said, I don't vote, right? And, just making the choice to not vote is like an enormous privilege that some people can't even see, because, sometimes you can't see the forest for the trees, right? And so whether that's you or somebody that helping them get them to the polls and do the right thing, I think is going to be extremely important as we move forward as a society.
Mm-hmm. And this last one, I think, is very important and is more of like a long-term and a very personal thing, but it's talking about like, how can you help demilitarize your neighborhood and your city? We've seen, especially in the last couple of nights in Minneapolis, what has happened is that people have gotten together. They've started to get to know their neighbors. They've set up like neighborhood systems of watching, of just like, hey, we're going to go out and like check on the neighborhood from 1 to 2. We know our neighbor's going to check it out from 2 to 3, having people's phone numbers. Like, what can you do so that you can help make your community safe just with the people who live there? So that you're not ever in a situation where you're maybe going to be calling in police who aren't from that neighborhood, who don't know your community. You don't know how they feel about your community. You don't know what their intentions are. I think one of the most important things that we can do right now is take a look at our neighborhoods and say, what can I do to make this a safer place for everyone who lives in this neighborhood?
And it's so simple to be able to start with going out and meeting your neighbors, even like, I've been on a neighborhood watch now the past couple of nights for my neighborhood. And it was like, oh, yeah, why didn't I ever just go say hi to these people who live around me? And I mean, even that is just so valuable. And saying, hey, I'm your neighbor. You see me here every day. And they're like, oh, yeah, I see you, too. And I'm like, great. Well, tonight, we're staying up for you, or we are helping keep this place safe. We've had reports in Minneapolis, of like neo-Nazi groups coming in and making trouble and all these sorts of things. And what is an easy thing that we can do without like any money or whatever, it's protecting each other and even just knowing each other. And like Megan said, getting phone numbers, checking on people. Do you need something? Do you need me to pick up your prescriptions? Whatever. Like, this is something that is of no cost that you can do immediately to help keep your place safer. And like Megan said, like, we sometimes don't think, like, a lot of white people see cops, as good, and that's just like not the case, for everybody. And we do not want more of what happened here in our city and around, around the world.
One of the biggest things that they talk about is like how few, especially in Minneapolis, I've only seen this as statistics for, but how few of the officers that are part of the our police forces are from the communities. Like a lot of them are coming in from the suburbs. And it's like, why are you going to trust someone who's coming into your community from way outside of it, when instead you could be trusting the people who live next door to you, who like have a vested interest in keeping this area safe and keeping this area peaceful. So yeah, I think it's super important.
Yeah, and I think this will be one of the good things that comes out of this is more people just being reinvested in their own community, you know, and sometimes that can be hard when we live, you know, so much online, like we're gamers, right? Like,
Yeah.
This is something that sometimes we are uncomfortable with, but reconnecting to the roots of our own communities and helping them thrive and grow from a grassroots movement, I think will be something that we can enact change with immediately starting here on the ground. So, just a little recommendation there for you too.
And of course, last thing, if you've got the dollars, send them. You know, if that's the one thing, like I have talked to, it makes me so sad. Like I know a couple of immunocompromised people who, for that big reason, like I feel like there have been some people who are just like, do you know what? I have a pretty healthy body. Like I can take the risk with COVID out right now to still go out to these protests or still go out and volunteer my time. Like I've been volunteering my time, and it's true. Like everyone's wearing masks, but you're not keeping 6 feet. Like everyone's touching a lot of communal stuff. I can take that risk. And I feel so sad when I see some immunocompromised people that I know being like, I feel so bad that I can't be out there. Like, it's okay. It is only one, like frontlines work is only one facet. If you can't do that work, like we said, like talk to people, like read books, educate yourself, and then send your money if you've got it.
Yeah, we're going to put some links in the show notes to places that are excellent places for you to donate your money to help the cause. And even if it's just a little bit, we always say it on the show about our patrons, every little bit really, really does matter. And so we'll put some links and little descriptions in the show notes for you. If you've got just a second to help out some of these organizations, it would mean so much to us and to them as well. So yeah, consider that if you've got a little bit of extra cash. And I know these are tough times, so maybe you don't, but like we said, there's tons of ways you can help out that don't involve money at all. This is just another way in case you have some extra dollars sitting around. Okay, everybody, time in. We're talking about magic again now.
It's magic time.
It's magic time.
And holy bonkers buckets. Wow,
holy
my
bonkers
brain.
Buckets.
Holy bonkers
buckets.
There have been standard bans.
That's right. We just got a new BNR announcement today. We're recording this on Monday the 1st, and Standard is in for a big shakeup. Like they announced they were going to do something with companions today, and indeed something they did, but I don't think it was a thing a lot of people were expecting them to do, actually.
No, a lot of people have talked about, they're like, of all of the possible nerfing of companions that I had entertained, this was not on the list. So,
yeah, a lot of people speculating you would go down to 6 cards if you had a companion in your opening hand, stuff like that. But no, Megan, what actually happened?
So the way it actually works now is that at any time that you could cast a sorcery, you can pay 3 generic mana to put your companion from your sideboard into your hand. And so they say this is like a special ability. So it's not an activated ability. It's not a triggered ability. It cannot be countered. It cannot be prevented by like Phyrexian Revoke or anything like that. You can just straight up do it anytime you've got those 3 generic mana.
Wild.
Yes. Of course, like very importantly, it can now be, like Drillbit can now nab that sucker.
That's right. You discard can get that thing now.
If discard can get it. Yep.
I mean, I think about this. Okay.
Is a lot of mana. Like 3 is a real turn as opposed to, right? Like 2, it's just like sometimes you don't do anything on turn 2. But 3, dang kids.
It's a cost. And if you think about decks that are specific about when they play their companion, sometimes you just want to play it on curve like an Obosh or whatever all the time, but some decks like specifically Luris, you want to play your companion and get value out of it on the same turn. Otherwise, you're opening yourself up to a huge risk. So like now you've got to pay for it, play for it, and get your and get your value out of it in the same turn for it to be truly effective, without leaving yourself open to removal and making your whole Luris plan worthless.
Yeah, like Luris is a big. That's a real like sucker punch to that guy.
Yeah, I think Luris. That might be RIP for Luris as far as I can tell.
That's a big one, right? You can still think of stuff like Yorion, right? So many of those decks already were making eventually make so much mana.
Yeah,
like they'll be able to do it. Maybe like Umori decks sometimes when they're like, well, I just drew another land this turn, so like time to put Umori into my hand, I guess.
I guess, it's so funny. It's kind of like basically erasing the text on Umori in a way. Like it was a discount card and now it's like a non-discount
That's true.
card.
I guess maybe Umori is just like a card that's not going to happen anymore. That one might be like
I don't know.
Goodbye, buddy.
I don't know. But I do think Yorion is the companion that comes out the best in this.
Yeah, certainly. I think
with these bannings.
We'll see. We'll see what happens.
It's literally day one here, everybody. Okay,
yes,
day one.
Exactly. It's like day zero because it doesn't go into effect until the 4th.
Yeah, that's true.
Obviously, also, I mean, we didn't mention, but no, this is just the side, the bans are a side note to the fact that there's a whole rules text change. Oh, whatever. No. Fires of Invention and Agent of Treachery both get the axe.
Yeah, they've both been banned in Historic and in Standard. Oh, excuse me. They've been suspended in Historic, so they're in timeout in Historic.
Yeah, they're like, we're watching you. Maybe you can come back, but maybe not.
Banned in Standard. Bandered, more like. Anyway, this is related to the companion thing because I wanted to say, Karuga, rest in pieces. There's no way you're surviving this, right?
Oh, yeah. Poor Karuga.
Without your fires, nobody wants you. I hate to say it.
Oh, poor Karuga.
I know. Karuga was such a good macro sage, but when there's nothing to macro,
what are you going to sage?
What are you going to sage? Yeah,
when there's nothing to macro, what you going to sage?
It's gone. That card has been such a powerhouse in Standard for so long, but basically... I think you mentioned it on the upkeep, they're never going to stop printing powerful things.
Right? You've just watched, we've seen fires just get, more and more and more powerful from, the best thing that you could do is, make a hasty 6/5. Which is, that's underselling the power level of Cavalier of Flames, but, you get the idea.
Yeah,
hasty
you see
6/5.
what we're saying. Yeah.
To now, it's just I'm going to, just Agent of Treachery on turn 5 and steal your thing. The power level of that card has only gone up, and in their notes for this announcement, they're kind of and it's we acknowledged it would probably only just get worse.
Yeah. They said it has Fires of Invention decks have a 55% win rate and have favorable matchups against the other top 10 archetypes, which that I did not know that data, and that is pretty oppressive. Impressive. I've got to say though, I am kind of I'm not surprised, but Agent of Treachery also being banned, I think is a bit interesting. I think a lot of people are taking issue with it because Agent of Treachery is obviously the payoff for ramping yourself into Oblivion and cheating it into play with Winota. But it is not the enabler. It's not Winota. It's not, I don't know, whatever else you want to call from somebody who ramps and plays
or
Agent
Luca,
of Treachery.
Even.
Or Luca, yeah, exactly. So it is a little weird, but I guess I understand it because otherwise they would have to ban more cards if they didn't ban Agent.
I guess they could have, an alternative might have been, you ban Luca and you ban Winota.
Yeah.
And I feel I don't know, I'll say, I think right now, and we haven't seen how this has fallen out yet, or what's all going to happen in Standard, but my gut says that I think I prefer Agent of Treachery being banned because I want to see people be okay, maybe Winota now isn't just like you make your opponent throw up on turn 3.
Well,
which is what I do every time that someone attacks with multiple creatures and a Winota and play on turn 3 is I just barf.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. It is barf worthy, but they do still have access to Angrath's Marauders, which is not as bad. It's not as bad, but it does double damage. Everything does double damage. They do still have that resource, which I've seen people complaining about. But
they're humans. Angrath's Marauders are humans.
Yeah.
Oh.
They come in and they maraud. You know,
they come in and they maraud big time. I guess part of me is like, I want to see where these decks can go, right? Like, I feel like if you ban Winota and you ban Luca, what you're saying is like, we're going to make it so that these strategies just don't work, right? Like they're gone completely. And I feel like, I don't know, I think that there's some justification for being like, what if we take away the most busted thing that you could do with it? Is it still so busted that everyone's going to play it all the time? I'm okay with giving it a little bit of time to find out.
I know some people were disappointed we didn't see more bans, like banning Little Teferi.
I think that's like the biggest disappointment on anyone's minds. Like, let's just name it. Little Teferi.
Little Teferi is going to be around, it seems like, for the foreseeable future. Which, you know, I don't know how much longer that is, honestly. If
I can't count time,
here and
so
think
I don't
about
know.
Time's not real.
Time's not real.
But, like, I think some people were in favor of having a more diverse standard after today's announcement. I don't necessarily think that's going to be the case, but, you know, who knows? The Brewers are putting on their hats again.
My personal opinion is that, like, I think that Temur Reclamation is going to be an issue.
Yeah, this is a big talking point because Temur Reclamation didn't lose anything. They've still got all their toys.
That deck has been very good. Like, and I think will only continue to be better.
Here's the one check against it, is that because Yorion has taken a bit of a hit, how much remains to be seen.
Yeah.
People are speculating that mono red and aggressive decks are going to be better now. They're not going to be playing Obosh necessarily. They might just go back to playing Embercleave. And if enough people are smashing your face with Embercleave, then you're going to be Temur Reclamation doesn't be too slow. So,
and like Anax is still a problem.
Yeah, Anax is still an amazing card.
Anax, quite good. Embercleave, obviously, yeah. Like Embercleave plus Anax is just like. Also,
speaking of things that make you barf.
Megan,
I have a question for you right now.
Yeah.
Is the current standard just a barf factory? Is every deck just trying to make you barf in a different way?
I think that many of the decks are just trying to make you barf in a different way.
Yeah, maybe that's the problem with standard.
It's got, Oh yeah,
it's
barfing is the problem with standard.
I don't know.
I mean, you could argue that what Winota and Luca were doing is barfing Agent of Treachery into play.
I would definitely say that. I am somebody who would definitely say that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they're being barfed into play.
But like, yeah, I mean, I think there is room for discussion about how we've gotten here in standard, and what we can do in the future to make these things not happen and to make, I don't know, because some people have said, well, one thing this commander nerf doesn't fix is the consistency problem, which it does a little bit, I would argue, but you're still going to have it every game, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't change that at all. But like we said, day 0. So I think a lot to be seen of what happens with both of these formats moving forward. I don't know. It doesn't happen until Thursday, so I can't even like go and play anything and see what happens.
I know. I mean, I will say that I've retaken myself into the standard queues with mono black Obosh right now. Just because the last couple of days there's so much Yorion that you can just be like, well, let's barf some creatures into play. Let's barf some creatures into play. It is all about barfing.
And about stealing.
Yeah. And about
playing so much discard.
I did win. I won against a Winota because I drill bitted Winota out of their hand on my turn too. And I was just like, and then they just played some dumb, like some bad creatures.
I mean, Winota without Winota is just a bunch of bad creatures.
Exactly.
Unfortunately,
So being able to just be like, bink.
Unfortunately, the best version of Winota decks run 8 copies of Winota effectively because of Neoform. But like, whatever. With Winota, if it doesn't find any of those, that deck is doing 0, absolute 0.
Exactly. You're like, okay, great. You have a 2/2 for 2.
Yeah. Look at your Alarios Enraptured, or however you say
If
the
someone
name of that
plays
card.
that and you're just like,
Okay.
All right.
I played against it a bunch actually this past weekend because while I was on neighborhood watch duty, I brought down my giant computer and plugged it up on my porch to play in the Arena Open, which was the first Arena Open was held this past weekend, the first chance to earn cash dollars on Arena. And I entered with green-white auras, which classic me, am I right? Playing the Boggly Boys in Standard. I shipped them 20,000 beautiful pieces of gold to play in this tournament. And I got to 4 wins with the Boggly Boys. So
beautiful
I was
pieces of gold is just cracking me up over here. Keep going.
I mean, I had like I had like stockpiled this like a dragon. And
Yes.
I'm like, all right.
You had
here we
hoarded
go.
it like you were sitting on it like smog.
Yes, I was. And I said goodbye to it in an instant. I got to 4 wins with the Hexproof lads, but it, that's where my run ended. I ran into Jeskai, or excuse me, not Jeskai. I ran into Winota a whole bunch in Best of 1. And what I wanted to say is that, like, for me, this highlighted how much Best of 1 and Best of 3 are completely different Magic formats.
Yeah. Yes.
Completely. I was testing for it on the ladder the other day, and I was like, it's not even close to the same format. I'm like, what are they?
It's two different.
People are
It's
just
two different
playing
countries.
bottles? Yeah, it's just. I'm sorry I didn't know that before, but like, you just can't play your best of 3 deck in those queues. It's just not the same.
No. Do you know what I still think about sometimes? Do you remember it was about this time last year, maybe almost, that BBD had an article that was like the 2 decks that were specifically for Best of 1. It was like the Dovin's Acuity and the Green White Angels.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
I played that Green White Angels one a lot.
Exactly. I just like wrecked the Best of 1 queue with those decks because it was just like, listen, like, you're going to have some good matchups and like the bad ones are going to be real bad and there's nothing you can do about it. And you could just go and like tear up the queue a little bit with them. And anyways, if you're looking for an article to write, like someone out there, ship us more Best of 1 specific decks because that article was so good. Those decks were so good for Best of 1.
Yeah.
And I would love to see more content that's about like, oh, hey, like Best of 1 is its own format.
And I know a lot of people, well, like, I think it was split. I think it was fairly evenly split between people who said, this is weird to have Best of 1 on your first day of your tournament and then Best of 3 on day 2. But I understand it fully because it allowed you to enter multiple times. If you lost out, you could just like scrub out pretty quickly and enter again with another deck, and it didn't take basically your whole day away for the first day of the tournament. And you could also qualify very quickly and then hang out and do whatever and then come back for day 2. So I do appreciate that actually, but it did force me into an area of my comfort zone that was like, no, I don't understand. I don't know how to play Best of 1. I feel weird. But yeah, it was a fun experiment, and I look forward to playing some limited events in the Arena Open. I hope, fingers crossed.
Oh, I would love that.
Wouldn't that be so cool? Sealed day 1, draft day 2.
Oh, yes.
I don't know if they have that ability to be able to do that, but that would be so cool.
I would really like it.
Do you want to talk about M21 a little bit here, Megan?
Yeah, because it's happening.
Yeah, there is going to be a new set released, everybody, of Magic.
Time marches on, regardless of the fact that it doesn't exist.
Yes, exactly. Like, Double Master is gonna be released at some point in the future. M21 is coming out.
Ooh, buddy.
And the reason we bring it up is M21 previews are going to be starting pretty quick here. But also, Mark Rosewater on his blog wrote about some teasers that will be coming up in the set. And we want to make some predictions for you about that stuff because we're like always right. So,
and I made a prediction, an off the cuff prediction on the upkeep that I now stand by.
Okay, let's get to some of these predictions and teasers.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, so first up, Mark says the new core set has a lot of exciting new cards, including number 1, a brand new planeswalker from a plane we've visited. Which plane is it?
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. Maria, which plane do you think it is?
I want to say, gosh, I want to say it's going to be from the recent, maybe not even.
I'm trying to think of all the places we've gone.
Maybe we need to look up a list of all the planes of Magic.
Where are all the places that we've been? The places
Magic.
you'll planeswalk.
All the places you'll play. Category planes. Oh, thanks MTG Wiki. Okay.
Do you think searching Magic planes is gonna get me where I want to go, or is it gonna send me to a page about magicians and planes?
It's gonna send you to Wonder Woman's plane specs, probably.
Oh no, it got me. Okay, it got me there.
Megan, aren't you gonna guess Vryn? You love Vryn.
I do love Vryn, but I don't think I don't know that we could technically say that we've like been to Vryn because there hasn't ever been like a set on it. So I don't think that it's Vryn as much as I want it to be Vryn.
I think it would actually be bizarre to have a planeswalker from Eldraine. I think that would be really weird.
Wow. Yeah. That would be like Eldraine would actually
Just
be very
random.
cool. Yes. Just like a
I
random.
think it'd be cool too.
I think also I was thinking
But
of like Oh, go ahead.
I'm gonna officially lock in my guess as Phyrexia.
Ooh, spicy. Here is my spicy guess. Mine is Amonkhet.
Okay, Amonkhet. I like that guess.
Right, because we had like all of the members of the Gatewatch during that block. Like that was like part of the big like Gatewatch arc, and so we only got Samut from Amonkhet, right? She was the only planeswalker like from there, and so like.
Well, what about Dovin? Was that from that set?
No, Dovin's from Kaladesh.
Oh no, you're right.
Which was gonna be one of my other guesses. Like I could maybe see it being Kaladesh, but Amonkhet. That's my very spicy guess.
He also says there'll be a card that lets you draw half your library.
Hot. Real hot.
A+. This is what I'm excited for. A +1/+1 tribal lord for a creature type that's never had one.
And he says specifically a creature type with over 50 cards already in print. And
Ooze.
This paired with that.
Just kidding.
What?
JK.
Did you say
I was saying
ooze?
ooze, but I'm pretty sure there's already an ooze lord, right?
I think that there might be. I feel like there has to be an ooze lord. I feel like we've said the phrase ooze lord before.
Ooze lord. Now that was my nickname in college. Okay.
Okay.
I mean, like,
so in case you didn't know, there was a tweet from WotC teasing something on June 4th, and it was like a beautiful artwork with like a little hound, but it was crossed out and said dog instead. Of something happening on June 4th at 10 a.m. Eastern. And so my prediction is that it's going to be the start of previews for M21, and it's going to be a Hound Lord / Dog Lord.
Yeah, I feel like they're going to change hound to dog. It's going to be eroded.
It's going to be eroded. They're all going to be dogs,
prediction.
and it's going to be a Dog Lord.
There is not an ooze lord update.
Oh. All right.
Contrary to what you would believe from the internet. But
I feel like I know a lot of ooze lords.
they also Mark also says there'll be a character with a Vanguard card and a legendary creature card that gets a second of the latter. A Vanguard card. Oh, that's interesting. So does he mean that somebody who is currently a Vanguard is going to get a normal Magic card?
Wait, what is Vanguard?
Remember playing on they actually have it on Arena too, playing what's it, why can't I even think what it's called? Spin the wheel, you pay the mana, you spin the wheel, you get the creature.
Oh, Momir
Vig. Does Momir have a card?
I think so.
Maybe Momir's getting their first card.
I don't know.
Oh yeah, Momir does have a Vig. It's Momir Vig Simic Visionary.
I was gonna
say.
I feel like yes.
Yeah.
Okay, but someone else, right? Because like Joyra is like someone who both has a card and had a format, or like a Vanguard.
True.
Oh man, did you ever play Joyra?
I did. It was super fun.
Oh, that format was very fun. For those of you who don't know, basically, I forget how much mana it was. It might have been 3.
Something like that.
You basically just like do it and it gives you, it like randomly generates 3 instants or sorceries and you get to pick one of them.
Yep.
It was great. It was really good. It was so really strange.
It was a very strange format. That was on Magic Online. But pretty fun.
Yeah.
Also a card with 31 different options. What?
This is my take on that. It's going to be one of the ones that says like, you know how like plain white celebration has like 4 and you can pick any, like you can pick each of them any number of times.
Sure.
That's my guess, is that it's like something that it's like some number of like possible combinations of 4 or 5 bullet points.
Or you could say pick a creature type. Does that count? Like, or something?
Maybe.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know. A card that gains all activated abilities of a certain subset of cards in a place it's never done before. Okay, I'm just going to leave that alone. Whatever. A card that uses a non-evergreen named ability over 20 years old. Oh.
A non-evergreen named ability. Banding. No.
Oh my God. Horsemanship.
Horsemanship!
Basically means unblockable at this point.
Yeah, I wonder.
Just FYI, horsemanship could only be, creatures with horsemanship could only be blocked by creatures with horsemanship.
And nobody has
that anymore.
Nobody has horses anymore.
A card with the words battlefield, cast, creature, converted mana cost, end of turn, exile, graveyard, and mana cost. Wow.
I feel like you could make one sentence by just rearranging only those words.
That's true. An aura inspired from a cycle from Urza's Saga block.
Okay.
And a non-evergreen enchantment subtype returns.
Uh-huh.
Enchantment subtype. Wow. Okay, spicy.
Yeah.
Mark also says that there's going to be a number of reprints in M21, including a popular character first introduced in flavor text. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I wonder who it is. I feel like it feels like there's like a name somewhere on like the tip of my tongue that people talk about who's never been seen but has been in flavor text, but I can't.
Speaking of flavor text, Megan, I'm just going to put that out there.
Wait, what? Oh, yeah.
I said, speaking of flavor text, Megan might have some exciting news about that in future episodes.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. We'll see.
Maybe.
A French vanilla mythic rare, which it will be a reprint.
Yeah.
And French vanilla just means it has like one keyword.
Yeah. And like one evergreen keyword.
Yes. A popular aura that started as part of a cycle. I'm into auras, so excited to see that. A card with a unique protection. I'm going to guess that the unique protection is protection from the other player.
I think that's been printed.
Oh, wait, yeah, it has.
Yeah.
It has.
Okay, I'm going to guess it's going to have protection from like a specific other card in the set.
Oh, yeah, they would do something like that in a core set.
Or protection from planeswalkers.
Or protection from the graveyard.
What would that even mean? You couldn't do that in a core set. You're going to boggle everyone's mind.
That's the
Protection
idea.
from the graveyard. What would it mean?
I don't even know what that even means.
What does it mean?
It's not scared. It can't be spooked by ghosts.
It can't be spooked by ghosts. Wow. I kind of want it to be protection from one other specific card name. Okay.
2 cards played in tournaments that have been reprinted over 20 times with at least 5 different pieces of art.
Ooh.
A card that's never previously appeared in a premiere set. A card that's never been reprinted before, which has a 2, 3, 5, and 6 all on that card. A human monk. A card from Time Spiral Time Shifted Sheet. Ooh.
Oh, exciting.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, there you go. That's a whole bunch of stuff to look forward to in M21, teased on Mark Rosewater's blog, which is called Blogatog, if you're interested in looking that up. I am core sets by their nature are meant to be simple and easy entry points for people playing the game. So seeing that like this kind of cool stuff does get me excited, and I do like playing core sets because it's like good quality, like meat and potatoes Magic.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, after all the shenanigans we've had for a while, I'm happy to just play some simple, straightforward Magic.
Some straightforward Magic. Oh boy.
Okay, everybody, that's this episode of Good Luck High Five. Thank you so much for hanging out with us once again. We hope you either learned something and you now have some action items on your list. If you listened to the first half of the episode, if you listened to just a second or all the way through, we hope you got some respite and you just got some time to think and laugh about Magic, because that's important too, Having fun and taking some time out is also really important. And so we're happy to just hang out and chat Magic with you at the end of the show too. Remember, we've got links in the show notes or under the YouTube video to everything that we talked about in the beginning of this episode if you want resources. Really easy. We're trying to make it as friction-free for you to go and get stuff done as we possibly can.
Friction-free.
So check that out. It's like friction points, right? You're like, oh, well, this doesn't load on my phone. I'm not going to do it. Or I don't remember my credit card number. Like stuff like that. Like what is the easiest way to bypass that so there's no barriers?
Yep.
We hope everybody out there is staying safe amidst, everything that's been going on. Big thanks to everyone who says hi or checked in on us on social media. That was really awesome. I'm going to give Chris Botello a shout out for doing matching donations with his wins from the Arena Open to some of the organizations we mentioned in the first half of this program. That's really stand-up of you. And we look up to you as a Magic player as well, just so you know. Not only for your awesome decks that you build, but also for being a good person. What else was I going to say? I don't know.
Remember that silence is complicity. So get out there, use your voice. If you're able to be out there, do it. If you can't, use your dollars. And if you don't have dollars, you got a voice. You can talk to people. So get out there and do it. Or stay home and do it. That's the point, is that you can.
That you can. That's the point.
Yes, that you can.
There's always something you can do, which is, I think, really uplifting when you think about it that way. Like, no matter what, there's always something. So, thank you once again to everybody who is a patron supporter of the show, of everything that we do. You are critical. Thank you so, so much. Everybody who's been donating to our office fund, we don't know the future of the office, like we said, and it was devastating to see. But, we will have one. And your names will go on the God of Theros wall. That is still in the works.
Where will it be? We don't know, but
there will be a sign. And your names will be on it.
Yep.
And that link is paypal.me/GLHF Magic. Thank you so much to everybody who's shown generosity that way. And the dream is not dead. I swear to Gorb, the dream is not dead. This is a really important time and a really critical pivot point, I think, for our country and around the world, quite frankly. And we are privileged to be living at a time when we are able to make a difference in a lot of different ways. And so use all the tools we have at our disposal, even if it's just your voice. That is really important too. And let's go out there and make the world better for us having been in it, I think.
Yeah.
Oh,
boy. And we'll see you. We care about you. We'll see you next week.